How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfeld, to recap the two Monday night games from week 2 in the NFL. So we'll start off with the Texans and the Buccaneers. So if you remember, these two teams met a couple years ago. CJ Stroud, I think, had like 5 touchdowns in the game. This game went back and forth. Baker Mayfield played really well in that game. Stroud hit the game-winning touchdown. I think it was either to Tank Dell or Nico Collins, but a very exciting game. This was not quite like that. This was a very low-scoring game. Both offenses, through the majority of the game, had trouble moving the football and struggled to score points. But it had a very good start and a very good finish. So kind of similar to what happened with the game a couple years ago, just not as much scoring. So the Texans, they went right down the field on their first drive, and C.J. Stroud hits Nico Collins on that beautiful pitch and catch. Very nice catch by Nico Collins. They reviewed it because they had to see if his feet were in bounds. They were, so that was a touchdown from 29 yards. And then the Buccaneers immediately answered. They go down the field. Baker Mayfield hits Ryan Miller on that nice touchdown from 20 yards out to tie the game. And then the Texans kick so on the first 4 drives of the game, they were all scoring plays. Then the Texans get in the field goal range. Kyrie Fairbairn kicks a 35-yarder. And then Baker Mayfield hits Emeka Egbuka for that 15-yard touchdown. There could have been maybe a penalty on that play because the lineman for the Bucs tripped the defensive back of the Texans, so they missed a call there. But it was 14-10, and then after that, it was just all punts. All punts in the second quarter. All punts in the third quarter. Bucs got in the field goal range. Chase McLaughlin ended up missing a 38-yard field goal. And then the Texans, they're driving. They get down to the Buccaneers 1. So first and goal, C.J. Stroud hits Nico Collins over the middle. He gets tackled just short of reaching the end zone. Then they run 3 plays. They run it with Nick Chubb on second and goal. They don't get it. Third and goal, Stroud tries to hit Nico Collins. They don't get it. And then they try again for Nico Collins, and it's incomplete. They should have just tried to hammer it home and score a touchdown. Just try to run the football. Whether it's a QB sneak, run it with Chubb, who had a decent game. They didn't do that. They ended up turning it over on downs. The Bucs did punt in the fourth quarter. Texans kicked another field goal, a 53-yarder. So now they're down by a point. So then the Texans defense gets another stop. A sack of Baker Mayfield on 3rd and 8. Bucs have to punt. And they end up getting a very nice return by Noel for 53 yards. Now, there was a flag on the play, but the refs picked it up. And ESPN was showing us different angles of the play where there maybe could have been a call for holding, but they picked it up. And usually on a punt or a kickoff, there's always a flag. So it was very interesting that it got picked up. But then the rules expert on ESPN was saying that, yeah, it was right to pick up the flag. There wasn't really anything egregious. So, and the Texans took advantage of that because then Nick Chubb, 1-yard run, but then a play later, second play of that drive from the Bucs 25-yard line, Chubb ends up scoring from 25 yards out. They go for 2. They don't get it. So the Texans are up 19-14. So now Baker Mayfield has to do what C.J. Stroud did a couple years ago, go down the field and get the game-winning score. And, of course, on the Bucs kickoff, the Bucs receiving the ball, there's a penalty. There's a holding on that play. So the Bucs, tough luck for the Bucs there. There was a penalty. There was a flag. It gets picked up. Texans end up deep in their territory, and then the Bucs end up getting a flag against them on the ensuing kickoff. But Baker Mayfield in that offense got to work. He hits Bucky Irving for 12 yards. A couple of incompletions, almost hit Egbuka on that 3rd down. He had it in his hands, but it went off his hands. That would have been such a great catch, and if he would have broke free, that would have been a walk-in touchdown. So then on 4th and 10, it looks like Baker is going to get sacked and the game is going to be over. But he somehow evades the rush, scrambles for 15 yards to pick up the first down. And then after that, the Bucs just kept picking up yardage after yardage after yardage. He hits Cade Otton for 8 yards, 22 yards to Bucky Irving, another 5 to Bucky Irving, 11 to Mike Evans, then 5 to Cade Otton. And then I said this because there was 9 seconds left. They had a couple timeouts. I said, are they going to run this ball? And that's what they did with Rachaad White, who had a good game. 2-yard touchdown. They go for 2. They don't get it. And the Texans don't have enough time to really do anything. Bucs kick it off to them. They just take it out and end up getting tackled. And the game ends. So Baker Mayfield, he did get banged up in this game on one of his scrambles. It looked like, because he was grabbing at his leg immediately, but he got back up and he started talking trash with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who tackled him. But Baker was able to finish the game. I mean, even Troy Aikman was pointing it out that Baker wasn't running at 100%. I don't think he's on the injury report right now, but I'm assuming he's dealing with this. I mean, he definitely is sore regardless because he was taking a lot of hits, and that offensive line was really shorthanded last night. They're still missing Tristan Wirfs, who I think is going to be back soon, but they had a couple of offensive linemen that went down. So, I mean, and this is a very good Texans pass rush that they're going up against. But Baker, still put together a good game, a couple of touchdown passes. The Bucs ran the ball for almost 200 yards. Bucky Irving had 71 on the ground, 65 by Rachaad White, and a rushing touchdown. Baker had 33. Mike Evans had 56 yards receiving. Bucky had 50. Ibuka had 4 for 29 and a touchdown. But the Bucs defense, they got after C.J. Stroud. 3 sacks on Stroud on the night. I mean, Stroud had a rough game too. I mean, that offensive line, same issues with the Bucs. I mean, the offensive line for the Texans isn't as good, is just as bad right now with the level of protection. The Texans really didn't run the ball effectively. I mean, Chubb had the rushing touchdown for 25 yards, was basically more than half of his rushing totals. Stroud had 27 yards on the ground. Nico Collins, I mean, he had that 29-yard touchdown catch and then really didn't do anything after that. The Texans really struggled offensively, and a lot of that has to do with what's going on up front and just not being able to consistently run the football. 4 sacks of Baker Mayfield. I mean, and now they're 0-2 on the season. So a tough start for the Texans. The Bucs 2-0. They take on the Jets, and the Texans take on the Jaguars, who just lost to the Bengals. But yeah, I mean, even with the pressure that Stroud was dealing with, because the offensive line has been an issue. He also just does not look like the same player that he was a couple years ago. I mean, when his rookie season, he was very good. I mean, last year they made the playoffs too, and he had a fair share of good games, but I just feel like he's regressed. And I think it does have to do with the protection, but there was another play later in the game where he throws a pass and it hits Levante David right in the chest and he drops it. Because he's under duress. And, a couple of plays, I mean, he missed Dalton Schultz early on in the game. He was missing throws, too. So, something's going on with C.J. Stroud. They got to get that right. I mean, and they're 0-2. They're 0-2. This is a team I had winning the division. But right now, it's the Indianapolis Colts division to lose at this current moment. Right now the Texans are 0-2 along with the Titans, and then you got the Jags who picked up a win against the Panthers in Week 1. So, now, so 20-19 the final score of that game was. And then you got the Chargers and the Raiders. And, the Chargers, another team that struggled to run the football. Only 81 yards on the ground. Justin Herbert ended up being the leading rusher. Omarion Hampton really couldn't get anything going on the ground. Najee Harris had 28 yards rushing. Omarion Hampton had 24 yards rushing. Justin Herbert made a couple of very nice plays in this game. I mean, he had the long touchdown pass to Quinn Johnston. He also had the play to Keenan Allen on 2nd and 10, the first touchdown from 10 yards out, the right side of the end zone. Keenan Allen, how about him? Since coming back to the Chargers, he's looked pretty good. Since coming back over to L.A., spending last year with the Bears. But very first play of the game, Geno Smith throws a pick. It gets deflected and intercepted by Henley. The Chargers turned that into a field goal, but then the Raiders did answer. They put together a 10-play, 42-yard drive to kick a field goal to tie the game, and then a couple of punts. First touchdown for the Chargers to make it 10-3. Raiders then scored a field goal on their next drive, so it was 10-6. But yeah, then you had the Herbert touchdown to Quinn Johnston. That was a 60-yard touchdown, a bomb to Quinn Johnston. Quinn Johnston's looks good so far this season. And then the Raiders, Geno Smith threw a pick. Geno had a rough night. trying to hit Thornton, but it ended up getting intercepted. The Chargers ended up just running out the clock to end the first half. But yeah, a couple of field goals in the third quarter. And then, yeah, just a couple of some turnovers by both teams, actually. It was 29 going in the fourth quarter. Ended up being a fumble by Darius Davis. The Chargers run this play on 4th and 1, and it ends up hitting Darius Davis as he's running by on the snap. Or there was a misexchange there that led to a fumble. But the Raiders didn't cash in. Geno Smith ended up getting intercepted, trying to hit Jacoby Myers on 3rd and 15. Like I said, Geno did not have a good day against his defense. So they didn't take advantage of it. Then they go for it on 4th and 3 from the Chargers' 29-yard line. Geno ends up getting sacked. And then the Chargers fumbled again. But Raiders couldn't take advantage of it. They go for it on 4th and 6. They don't get it. Chargers run out the clock. But yeah, Geno Smith, 24-43, 180 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks. Raiders also couldn't run the football. Ashton Genty only had 43 yards on the ground. Jacoby Myers was the leading receiver, 68 yards. They did get Justin Herbert for a couple of sacks. Our Chargers defense sacked Geno Smith 3 times, but 3 interceptions off of Geno Smith. So that was not great. Tom Brady was in attendance for this game. He was up in one of the boxes with a headset on. Looking on, and Raiders offense really could not get anything going. But the Chargers are good. They're 2-0. They're 2-0 against their division, which is very important. Now they take on the Broncos this upcoming week, so they can go 3-0 against their division, and that's huge, especially early on in the season. Chargers are looking good. Chargers are looking pretty good. Right now they got a 1-game lead in the division, and when the Chiefs are 0-2 in that division. So how about that? So, yeah, as we sit here going into week 3, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 0-2 teams. So right now we got the Jets who are 0-2, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Texans, the Titans, the Chiefs. That's in the AFC. In the NFC, you got the Giants, the Bears, the Panthers, the Saints, and there's no one 0-2 teams in the NFC West. So, I mean, I look at teams like the Chiefs. I mean, especially the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think, will figure it out. I wouldn't hit the panic. But I mean, I think there's definitely concerns when it comes to the Chiefs. But I feel like this team, I mean, they've dealt with adversity at times. And, they're accustomed to winning. I just feel like they're going to figure it out. I know some people may say that this is going to be the year they miss the playoffs. I don't think so. I think they're making the playoffs. I didn't have them winning the division. I don't have them, going to the AFC Championship game. But I do think that this team will figure it out, and they'll be back in the playoffs. Now, for some of these other teams, I mean, the Texans, I have my concerns because, right now, you're dealing with offensive line issues, and, your quarterback isn't playing well right now. And now, all of a sudden, the Colts, I mean, they're 2-0, and, they just beat the Broncos in an upset. I think there's some concern level there. But, I feel like this defense still is the best in the division. And I think if they could start, getting things going on offense, then, they'll be in good shape. But, yeah, 0-2 is not where you want to be. I mean, the Titans being 0-2, you kind of expect that with the rookie quarterback. The Browns, I mean, they could be 1-1 had they beat the Bengals week 1. And then they get blown out by the Ravens. This is kind of expected. The Dolphins, I mean, with all the noise that was made in the offseason, I mean, this is a very important game coming up on a short week on Thursday against the Bills in Buffalo. It's going to be tough. The Jets, I mean, look, they played a really good game in week 1, but not so much in week 2 against the Bills. The Giants, I mean, we kind of expected it, even though they played really well on offense against the Cowboys on Sunday. But, yeah, with their schedule, you kind of expected it. The Bears, I mean, yeah, there's concern level there. I mean, I think there was definitely, a level of expectation coming into the season that, Caleb Williams and this team would get off to a better start. And they looked very well to start off that game against the Vikings. And then, the offense stalled. Vikings came back. They lost that game, and then they get blown out against the Lions. So they got to figure things out. They got a game coming up against the Cowboys at home. Cowboys don't have a good defense. They'll put up points, but they don't have a good defense. So that's a game that I can see the Bears winning. The Saints, we kind of expected them to be 0-2 with the quarterback situation, and just they're not a great team. And the same thing with the Panthers. I mean, Jacksonville was. I mean, I picked Jacksonville in Week 1, but that's a game I think they could have. It sounded like that game was. They were huge underdogs. I thought they maybe could have. Pulled that one out. And the Cardinals, I mean, they were getting blown out. They showed some fight to come back, but yeah, Bryce Young is kind of reverted back to how he was, before he was benched last year and, all of 2023. So that's not a good sign either. So, a lot of these 0-2 teams, you kind of expected them to be 0-2, but I didn't expect the Texans to be 0-2 at this point. I thought they would pick up the win against the Bucs. I mean, they were very close. It's just, the defense just could not get a stop at the very end of the game. And then the Chiefs, I mean, look, 2 tough games against 2 good teams. But, again, I thought maybe they'd be 1-1 going into this game against the Giants. I thought maybe they'd get revenge on the Eagles, and that didn't happen. That did not happen. So, but yeah, they got the Giants, and then they got the Ravens at home the following week. So, this game against the Giants is very important for them. I mean, they definitely should win. I mean, I can't, like, Russell Wilson has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the past, but, again, it's the past. I think the Chiefs should win this game with ease on Sunday. I'll go over the picks on Friday, but that's just how I feel. So, but yeah, another week in the books. The game's on Monday. I mean, there was a dramatic finish between the Texans and the Bucs, but in the middle portion of the game, the offense has just struggled. And then in the later game, the Chargers did just enough offensively to get the win, and they had a strong defense. Khalil Mack actually left that game, suffered an arm injury. What was the exact injury? It was. I think was it an elbow? But yeah, he's going to be out. I think for the whole, not the whole year. Well, it might be the whole year. Let's see. So Khalil Mack, dislocated elbow, avoids season-ending injury, expected to be back in a few weeks. So that was posted by I'm looking at Twitter. That was posted 4 hours ago on the NFL's Twitter. So he'll be back this year. So that's good to get him back, to have him back on defense soon. But the Chargers defense, look, it's looked a lot better these last 2 years with Harbaugh now at the helm. They got to figure out how to run the football better. They really got to get this running game going, because that just would make them that much more dangerous. And Justin Herbert's gotten off to a very good start. So, 2-0 against 2 divisional opponents. That's huge. That's huge. And for the Raiders, they got to get their running game going, and Geno Smith has got to play better. That was a very ugly showing by him, and he was taking chances, throwing the ball downfield, but it's just he had an arm punt in this game. He's got to play better. And I got a little bit of some side eyes for not in my friend group, because my friend group believes this, but some people that I talked to, when I said that I thought Sam Darnold was a slight upgrade over Geno Smith, there were some side eyes I was getting from a conversation that I was having with people. And how does that look right now? I know it's very early on in the game, or early on in the year, but I mean, the Seahawks should be 2-0 right now. And Sam Darnold looked pretty good against the Steelers, although, the first 2 weeks, opposing quarterbacks have played really well against the Steelers' defense. And Geno Smith, I mean, he played well against the Patriots, but, I mean, look at what he did last night, or 2 nights ago. So, again, I mean, different situations now. Geno Smith is in a worse situation than he was in Seattle. But, Darnold's going to have a good year, I think. So we'll see how that plays out. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Week 3 begins tomorrow. AFC East matchup between the Bills and the Dolphins. So we'll see. Will the Dolphins really got their backs against the wall? Are they gonna show up? Are they gonna be the team that plays up to the Bills like they did last year, or are we gonna see a game like the Bills blowing them out like they did in Buffalo a couple of years ago? And they did also blow them out on Thursday Night Football last year, and Tua had 3 picks. We'll see. But let me know what you guys think about the games from the other night. We'll do picks on Friday. We'll recap the Thursday night game as well. It's a big line right now. I think it's right now at 11.5. The Dolphins are getting. It's tough because they are playing really desperate right now. But I just think that this season's going to continue to unravel for them. Mike McDaniel is really on the hot seat. I'm going to take the Bills to win and cover the big number. So, as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video, to the channel. Make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next time.